Imagine this day. You are standing at the altar. Friends, family, flowers are all around you. Music is playing, bringing tears to your eyes. You look at her and see an angel in white. You hear the vows, for better, for worse, until death do us part. In this moment, your brain, intoxicated by oxytocin and dopamine, paints a picture of an ideal future, stability, comfort, loyalty. You think you have conquered her. You think that marriage license and that ring on her finger are a guarantee. You think she belongs to you, but this is a lie. The sweetest, cruelest, and most expensive lie in human history. Because while you are listening to Mendelssohn, inside her body, at the cellular level, a war is waging that you don't even suspect. Nature has completely different plans for her, and these plans have nothing to do with your morality, your romance, or your desire for a peaceful retirement. Biology is not a Disney fairy tale. Biology is a battlefield littered with the corpses of those who failed to pass on their genes. And the only goal of biology, the only directive wired into every single one of her cells, is survival and propagation. At any cost, the great Carl Jung warned us, we are not masters in our own house. We think we control our destiny, our choices, our women. But in reality, we are driven by ancient, dark programs that formed millions of years before we learned to speak. And one of these programs is the most terrifying secret of female nature, one that men are afraid to admit because it destroys their ego. Science gives this phenomenon a dry, cynical name, the dual mating strategy. What does this mean? It means a woman is biologically programmed to want two completely different men, simultaneously, but for different purposes. She needs one man for resources, safety, and raising offspring. That is you. That is your comfortable couch, your paycheck, your willingness to tolerate her whims. And she needs a completely different man for superior genes, for animal passion, to ensure her children are strong, aggressive, and dominant. And that man is most likely not you. Today, we will cut open this wound. We will break down the phenomenon of concealed ovulation, a brilliant evolutionary mechanism that allows a woman to execute this dual strategy right under your nose. I will show you why even the most faithful, modest wife turns into a completely different creature for a few days a month, driven by a hormonal storm. We will look at this process through the lens of evolutionary biology and Jung's depth psychology to understand how the shadow archetype hijacks her consciousness. You will learn why you risk spending your entire life raising another man's child without ever suspecting a thing. This video will destroy your illusions. It will hurt. But as Jung said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. This video will save your future, your wallet, and your genetic line. But I must warn you, if you close this video now, you will remain in blissful ignorance, which sooner or later will lead to catastrophe. What I am about to tell you may seem cynical or misogynistic to many, but science knows no emotions. It only knows facts. I will give you the most important key to defending against this biological hack only at the very end. So, before we begin this descent into the abyss, please like this video right now. It is a signal to the algorithms that we are speaking the truth. And if you are here for the first time and are ready to take the red pill, subscribe to the channel right now. Let the autopsy begin. The architecture of deceit. Why did ovulation become a secret? To understand the trap we are in, we need to rewind time. We need to look at our closest relatives in the animal kingdom. Let's look at chimpanzees. They are brutal, hierarchical, primitive creatures. But they have one quality that makes the life of a male chimpanzee extremely clear and honest. This honesty lies in female physiology. When a female chimpanzee is ready to conceive, when ovulation occurs, everyone sees it. Literally. Her genital area swells, turning bright red or pink. It is a massive neon biological billboard screaming to the entire forest. I am ready. Now or never. It is a signal that is impossible to ignore. No riddles. No hints. No, I'm not in the mood, or I have a headache. There is a signal. There is action. The male sees the red color, his testosterone spikes, and he begins to guard this female. He chases away competitors. He fights. He mates. But as soon as ovulation ends, the swelling subsides. The red color disappears, and the male loses all interest in her. He goes off to handle his own business, find food for himself, or fight for status with other males. It makes no sense for him to sit next to her, because he knows for a fact, right now, she cannot get pregnant. His genetic mission is on pause. Now look at the human female. Look at your wife or girlfriend. Do you see any changes when she is ovulating? Do you see a red traffic light? No. Nature, through brutal natural selection, performed a strange maneuver. It hid ovulation. It made the moment when a woman is most fertile absolutely invisible to the male eye. No swelling. No change in skin color. No scent that a man can consciously detect. A woman on the day of ovulation and a woman on any other day of the cycle look outwardly almost identical. Evolutionary biologists have puzzled over this paradox for decades. Why hide the most important event in the life of the species? Why hide the key to reproduction? Logically, if a man knew exactly when to have sex for conception, reproductive efficiency would be higher. But the logic of evolution is not the logic of efficiency. It is the logic of manipulation. The answer scientists arrived at is frightening in its cynicism. Ovulation was hidden specifically to confuse paternity and tie the man to the woman on a permanent basis. Let's break this down simply. Imagine you are an ancient hunter. If you knew for sure that your woman could only get pregnant during these specific 3 days of the month, what would you do? You would guard her like the apple of your eye for exactly those 72 hours. You wouldn't let anyone near her. You would ensure fertilization. And what would you do for the other 27 days? Exactly. You would leave. Why would you waste your resources, your meat, your protection on a female who is useless for your genetic expansion right now? You would go find other females who currently have the red light on. You would live freely, returning only for business. This is profitable for you, but it is catastrophically unprofitable for her. A woman, especially with a human child who is born helpless and requires gigantic investments over many years, does not need a transient visitor. She does not need a man who shows up for 3 days. She needs a provider. She needs a resource. She needs someone who will drag a mammoth into the cave every day, 30 days a month, 365 days a year, in rain and snow. But how do you force a selfish male who only wants to spread his genes to stay close constantly? How do you force him to invest in her rather than chasing others? The answer is genius. You must deprive him of information. You need to create a leash of uncertainty. Concealed ovulation creates a situation where a man never knows for sure if she can get pregnant right now or not. Every sexual act becomes a lottery. To guarantee the child is his, he is forced to stay close constantly. He is forced to guard her every day. He is forced to feed her every day. He pays with his resources and his freedom for a chance at fatherhood. Concealed ovulation is biological blackmail. It is the tax you pay for access to reproduction. And here we see the first glimpse of the Jungian shadow. Female nature, through evolution, learned to use its weakness as a weapon. By hiding the readiness signal, she turned the man from a free hunter into a domestic watchman. You think you are the head of the family because you bring the money. But from a biological perspective, you are just support staff attached to an investment object because you are afraid to miss the moment. She keeps you on a short leash of uncertainty. You feed her for 30 days, but the window of opportunity is open for only 3 to 5 days. And the scariest part isn't that you are overpaying. The scariest part is what happens in her head during exactly those 5 days. Because at the very moment she can conceive, the domestic watchman ceases to interest her as a man. And completely different instincts take the stage. By the way, friends, write in the comments if you have ever noticed a strange, inexplicable coldness from a woman that appeared suddenly and disappeared just as suddenly. Type a plus if you have encountered this. It will be very interesting to see how many of us have felt this. Cold but didn't understand its cause. The science of infidelity, the ovulatory shift hypothesis, have established that a woman keeps you in the dark to guarantee your provision. But that is only half the truth. The second half is much scarier. It concerns who exactly she wants when the masks come off. Here we are helped by one of the most provocative theories in modern evolutionary psychology, the ovulatory shift hypothesis, developed by scientists Stephen Gangestad and Randy Thornhill. This theory is supported by dozens of studies, and it states female preferences in choosing a mate are not stable. They change cyclically, like tides, and these changes are dictated by the iron logic of survival. Let's divide all men into 2 archetypal camps. This is a crude simplification, but for biology, it works perfectly. The first type is the good dad. That is you. Reliable, predictable, loyal. You have normal testosterone levels. Not too low to be weak, but not too high to be an aggressive psychopath. Your immune system works fine. You are capable of acquiring resources, and most importantly, you are willing to invest those resources in one woman and her children. From the perspective of the persona, the woman's social mask, you are the ideal candidate. You are the one she marries. You are the one it is safe to grow old with. The second type is the carrier of good genes. In scientific literature, he is often called the cad, or, in ethological terms, the alpha. He has skyrocketing testosterone. He has a perfectly symmetrical face, a marker of 0 genetic mutations. He has a strong jawline, a deep voice, and dominant behavior. But he has a huge downside. He is a bad father. He is aggressive. He is prone to cheating. He does not want to sit in a cave and babysit. He wants to impregnate as many females as possible and ride off into the sunset. He is a genetic jackpot, but a social bankrupt. And here arises the tragedy of female biology. Evolution has set her an impossible task. She needs both. She needs your resources to survive herself and feed the offspring. But she needs HIS genes for the offspring to be biologically competitive. If she conceives with you, the good dad, her children will survive in comfort, but may lose the genetic race to the alpha's children. If she conceives with the alpha, the children will have super genes, but they might die of starvation because daddy ran away. How to solve this dilemma? Nature found a solution. A cruel, cynical, brilliant solution. The dual mating strategy. A woman marries the provider, but secretly conceives with the lover. Studies show shocking statistics. Women are much more likely to fantasize about sex with other men, specifically during the ovulation phase. And not just with others, but specifically with men possessing highly masculine, dominant traits. On ordinary days of the cycle, the luteal phase, she is attracted to softer, more feminine faces similar to yours, faces that promise care. But during those 5 days of the window of opportunity, her brain switches. She suddenly starts liking roughness. She likes pressure. She likes danger. Her shadow breaks out and demands a genetic alpha dot. There is even a concept called the sexy son hypothesis. A woman unconsciously wants to birth a son from the local Casanova because that son will inherit the seducer genes and will himself be successful with women, passing his mother's genes to the maximum number of grandchildren. If she bears a son from you, from the nice guy, that son will also be a nice guy who will pay the mortgage for other men's children. But if she gives birth from that guy on the motorcycle, her son becomes the king of the gene pool. Therefore, by cheating on you, she is not just seeking pleasure. She is investing in the genetic future of her dynasty, at your expense. Jung called this the conflict between consciousness and the unconscious. Consciously, she loves you. She values your contribution. She doesn't want to ruin the family. But the unconscious is an ancient beast that knows no pity. When hormones hit the brain, the wife's persona shuts down and the biological program takes control. You can be the ideal husband for 25 days a month, but on the days when DNA destiny is decided, you become an obstacle. You become boring. And her gaze starts sliding through the crowd in search of someone who will give her future child a chance at dominance. Diagnostics of the red zone. Markers of biological hijacking. Now you understand the theory. But theory is useless if you cannot see its manifestations in reality. How do you understand that the biological hijacking has begun? How do you know that your woman has entered the red zone of ovulation and her radars have switched on to search for an alpha? The scariest part is that she often doesn't realize it herself. It happens at the level of instincts, below the threshold of consciousness. But you, armed with knowledge, can see it. There are three main markers: visual, behavioral, and olfactory. Marker 1, visual signal, the red dress effect. Remember the female chimpanzees. Their skin turns red. Human women's skin doesn't turn red, but they unconsciously imitate this signal. Studies by Hasselton and other scientists from UCLA have shown an amazing pattern. During ovulation, women tend to dress more revealingly and provocatively. They choose red and pink clothing more often, imitating the flush of blood. They use more makeup. They put on heels and short skirts, even if they are just going to the store or to work where there is no dress code. If your wife usually wears jeans and a hoodie, but suddenly, without apparent reason, puts on a tight dress and spends an hour on makeup before going out with the girls, this is an alarm signal. She doesn't just want to look pretty. She is decorating herself for the mating market. Her biology is putting the goods on display. Marker 2, behavioral signal, seeking conflict. This is the most insidious moment. Have you noticed that sometimes fights arise out of nowhere? You placed the cup wrong, you looked the wrong way, you said the wrong thing. She explodes, slams the door and says, "I need to be alone, or I'm going for a walk." Men think they are truly guilty, but often this is an unconscious strategy to create distance. To meet a stranger, she physically needs to get away from the guard, that is you. Provoking a fight is the best way to legally leave the house and free herself from your control for the evening. During ovulation, women become more socially active. They want to go out. They want to dance. They want emotions. The house seems like a cage to them. If in the middle of her cycle, she becomes irritable and looks for an excuse to leave, know this, it is not PMS. It is the call of the ancestors. Marker 3, olfactory signal, disgust for the familiar. This is perhaps the deepest and most scientific aspect. There is something called the major histocompatibility complex, MHC. These are genes responsible for immunity. Nature wants partners to have maximally different immune systems so that children are protected from all diseases. We read these genes through body scent. During normal times, when a woman is on birth control or in the safe phase, she might like your scent. It seems familiar and soothing. But at the moment of ovulation, her sense of smell sharpens dramatically. And if your genes are too similar to her own, or if they are weak from a biological standpoint, your natural scent suddenly begins to disgust her. She might say, "Ooh, you smell," even if you just got out of the shower. She turns away in bed. She avoids kisses. This is not a whim. This is her body chemically rejecting you to prevent conception with a genetically unsuitable male. All these signs together create a picture of the so-called ovulatory shift. She becomes more beautiful for the outside world, but colder to you. She seeks the attention of strangers, but rejects the attention of her own. This is the state of the red zone. And if at that moment a drifter with the right jawline and a daring gaze appears on the horizon, her resistance will be broken not by logic, but by chemistry. Her shadow will open the door while her persona sleeps. It is precisely this level of depth and understanding of hidden processes that you will find in every one of my breakdowns. I don't give superficial advice. I give an X-ray of reality. If this is the approach you have been looking for, if you want to see the truth, whatever it may be, now is the perfect moment to subscribe to the channel. Because next, we will go even deeper into the dark waters of Jungian psychology to understand exactly how this stranger hijacks her soul. Jungian analysis. Animus possession. We have broken down the biology. We have seen the hormones. But a human is not just meat. A human is also a psyche. And here Carl Jung enters the stage with his frighteningly accurate concept of the animus. If you understand this, you will understand a woman better than she understands herself. Jung taught that in the subconscious of every woman lives an inner man, the animus. This is not just an image of her father or first boyfriend. It is an archetypal force woven from millions of years of male history. It is a composite of all male qualities: logic, aggression, strength, spirit. And the most important thing to know, the animus is multiple. Inside your woman's head lives not one man, but a whole board of directors. There is a judge who evaluates your actions. There is a wise old man, but there is also a dark drifter, a primordial, wild, untamed male. When a woman marries, she often projects the light aspects of the animus onto her husband, the protector, the provider, the father. You become the carrier of these projections. You fill this niche, but the dark drifter remains unemployed. He is locked in the dungeon of her subconscious. He is bored. And on the days of ovulation, when biological barriers fall, this dark animus breaks free. He demands embodiment, and then she meets him, that guy at the bar, the fitness trainer, or the new colleague. He might be stupid. He might be poor. He might be objectively worse than you. But he has one trait, a hook that her projection latches onto. It could be a look, the timbre of his voice, the way he holds a cigarette, or complete disregard for rules. In this moment, a magical and terrifying act occurs. She takes her internal ideal savage and superimposes his face onto the face of this real man. An overlay occurs. From this moment on, she no longer sees a real person. She sees a god. She sees her own fantasy of wild power, which she lacks so much in her cozy, sterile marriage with you. She falls in love with a hallucination. Jung called this state animus possession. In such moments, a woman falls into a trance. Her eyes glaze over. Logic shuts down. You try to speak to her reasonably. We have a mortgage. We have kids. What are you doing? But she looks right through you, because it is not her speaking. It is the animus speaking, having hijacked her ego. That is why, when the infidelity is revealed and the hormonal fog clears, usually after sex or a couple of weeks later, a woman often genuinely cries and says, "I don't know how it happened. It wasn't me. It was like I went crazy." And from the perspective of depth psychology, she isn't lying. It was a hormonal hijacking of the brain. Her psyche was seized by an archetype that you didn't give space to in your life. You were too good, too correct, too safe. You killed the beast in yourself for her sake. And by doing so, You forced her to seek that beast on the side. Because the animus always demands wholeness. If there is no demon in house, he will come from the street. Protocol hybrid. How to hack the system. Does all this mean that marriage is doomed? That all women are traitors by nature? No, that is the position of a weak, resentful boy. A strong man looks truth in the eye and adapts. Knowledge is power. Now that you see the map of the minefield, you can walk through it and survive. The only way to win this evolutionary war is to stop being one-dimensional. You must become a hybrid. Most men make one of two fatal mistakes. Mistake 1. The nice guy. You go completely into the role of provider. You give flowers, wash dishes, agree with everything, afraid to offend. You become comfortable like old slippers. You are safe. And safe is not exciting. Sexual desire feeds on scarcity, mystery, and slight anxiety. By becoming a mommy with a penis, you kill attraction. Mistake 2. The eternal drifter. You play the alpha. You are cold. You provide no resources. You cheat. This works for the short term, for sex, but such a woman will not bear children for you or build an empire with you. She will just use you for genes and leave for a provider. To hack the dual mating system, you must be both a husband and a lover to her simultaneously. You must integrate your shadow. What does this look like in practice? First, unpredictability. Stop being an open book. Change plans. Sometimes be cold, sometimes be hot. Create an emotional roller coaster, artificially, so she doesn't have to seek it on the side. Dopamine is released by novelty and uncertainty. Be the source of this uncertainty. Second, physical form. Testosterone must be visible. Your posture, your shoulders, your gaze. You have no right to get fat, thinking she loves me anyway. Her conscious mind loves you. Her subcortex despises weakness. Exercise not for health, but for dominance. Third, dominance in the bedroom. The bedroom is the only place where civilization must end. There, you are not a partner, not a friend, and not a colleague. There, you must take, own, and subdue. Realize her fantasies of a dirty alpha with her. If you are too gentle and careful, she will find someone who will be rough. Close this need. Become that drifter she dreams of, while remaining a reliable husband outside the bedroom. This is a hard path. The path of the hybrid requires constant tension. You cannot relax. You cannot let yourself go and just play video games on the couch. But only this way, by closing both needs, for safety and for danger, will you leave her biology, not a single chance, not a single reason to look for someone else. Fill all the space with yourself, from her bank account to her dirtiest fantasies. We have come a long way. From dry facts of biology about chimpanzees to the mystical depths of the Jungian animus. Now you see the matrix. You see the strings by which nature pulls the puppets. And this truth might be bitter. To admit that she does not belong to you is painful. To admit that you are for her a set of functions, resources, and genes is unpleasant. But it is this pain that liberates. As long as you believe in the fairy tale of unconditional love, you are blind and vulnerable. As soon as you accept the rules of the biological game, you gain control. She does not belong to you. She belongs to nature, and nature is always on the side of the strong. Stop taking her loyalty for granted as a wedding gift. Loyalty is a trophy. It is something you conquer every day. With your status, your will, your fitness, and your intellect. Do not be just a resource that can be milked. Do not be just an appendage to the sofa. Be the prize. Be the one whose loss would be a fatal mistake for her, a genetic and social bankruptcy. The question is only one. Do you have the strength to play by these rules in 2025? Or do you prefer to close your eyes and hope you get lucky. The choice is yours. But remember, evolution does not forgive the blind dot. Today we broke down the why, but in the next video, we will break down the how. We will move to the harsh practice of dominance. We will break down specific phrases, actions, and manipulations that put a woman in a position of biological submission. But this knowledge is dangerous, and I cannot give it to everyone. So right now, go to the comments. Write one phrase. I see the matrix. Let us be a legion. And make sure to check your subscription and the bell icon. The next video might disappear from access very quickly. Stay tuned.